Okay, I just wanted to give you a quick demonstration of how this works. The sun or the clouds decided to work with me a little bit. So you can see that little tiny screw that I have in there, and you can see the shadow it's casting is quite clear. But as I slope the board to line up with the sun, you'll see the shadow grows. See how it's growing? See how it's growing. Oh, so I think I'm just experimenting, but I think I'll try this again with an actual whiteboard, maybe even a dry erase board. But the trick is to position this board so that that shadow is just about as long as you can possibly discern its shape. I'm gonna do mine right about halfway, and see which way the shadow progresses from one day to the next, up or down the board. For me, I believe it'll, but remember, you need to have 2 points. So just sharing kind of the research and development on this. But the idea is, if this board is angled so it's pointing like the sights of a gun at the sun, you should be able to see this longer shadow more pronounced from one day, comparing one day's data set to the next. All right, so I screwed my board in place, and so you can see I was using the paper because it's kind of hard to see on the board. So the trick of using the paper to see where that point is. Ooh. Oh, and it's off the board. You got to make sure you hold the paper flat on the board, and it's like off the board at this point. Like my board, I'm blocking the shadow. My board only goes to here, so I mean I only got like 2 points. I got 1, and I called it A1 and then A2, and so the shadow moved down like this, and it moved pretty quick. So tomorrow, or the next day, I mean I'd like to collect tomorrow, but now that I got 2 points, I can see, is the shadow pattern going to go this way? So I'll have a point here and here tomorrow, or is it going to go over? I'm pretty sure where I am located, that's the way it's going to go, because the sun's continuing to kind of come higher over me, so the sun's going to be on this side more of the nail. It's going to be on this side, so the shadow should move more to this side. So tomorrow I would expect to see like another point like here and here. And now I'm thinking about it, that's actually important. I suppose the slope of this board, once you figure out which way the sun's moving, or it might depend on the time of day. This was 6:30 p.m. But if the pattern is over here tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure it will be, like in the board should actually be sloped like more like it should be in the direction of whichever direction the data points are progressing. Like that's the direction the slope should be. So just kind of documenting this as I experiment along the way. But I'm pretty sure this is going to help to see a difference in data points from one day to the next, but it's got to be, there's a little bit of figuring out to do. But I'm taking you along for the journey.
I just wanted to quickly say that last point that I mentioned about the slope of the board is definitely important. I had clouds yesterday, and maybe I won't have them today. I'm going to keep experimenting, but it's definitely important. So you just kind of got to experiment, and we'll figure this out. But if you notice the orientation and the progression of the points in this picture, you can see how point A1 was higher up the slope and then AB was lower down the slope. That is telling me that my board is actually not sloped the right direction. We don't want those data points to be progressing up or down the slope. We want them to be progressing perpendicular to the slope. And so then the next day, you would see 2 sets of data points either climbing the board or going down the board. So I've got to experiment and do this again. And I'll keep you posted, but I just wanted to say that is food for thought. And what I'm thinking is it might actually help to do a flat board, kind of like the straight line method, just one time when you're setting this up, because then you can see which way the shadow is curving and progressing. And then you can take your small board like this, once you know which way that pattern is progressing, and you can make sure to lay your board perpendicular to the direction that the shadow is progressing. And just put it down right over the points you collected so that that shadow will progress from side to side on the board and not up and down like is shown in my board here. And then once you have your board just sitting on top of the other board in the correct orientation, then you can stand it up at that angle, like matching the data points that were on the flat board, but then just stand it up at an angle. It's slightly tricky, but it can be figured out. And I just wanted to say that, and I'll show you guys as I actually get sunlight to do this.